The new maid arrived on a Tuesday morning. Her name on the paper said Ada. Ada Mensah, 27 years old, no family, no ties. The housekeeper looked her over once and handed her a uniform. You clean, you serve. You don't speak unless spoken to. And you never, ever, look Mr. Kang in the eye. Ada nodded quietly. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, Ada said softly. Her voice was soft. Her eyes were softer. Everything about her said nobody. That was exactly the point. Her real name was Zara Adeyemi, and she had been planning this moment for 3 years. Her father, Chief Emeka Adeyemi, had once been the most powerful mafia lord operating between Lagos and Seoul. 2 empires, 2 cities, one name that commanded both. Until Kang Ji-ho decided he wanted everything her father had built. The takeover was clean, surgical. Nobody saw it coming. One night her father was alive. The next morning he was gone. And everything he owned, every building, every contact, every cent, belonged to Ji-ho. Zara had spent 3 years rebuilding herself in silence. Learning, preparing, waiting for the right moment. And now she was inside his house, holding a mop. She learned the mansion in 3 days. Every corridor, every camera angle, every locked door, and every room that was sometimes left open. She catalogued everything in her head like a map she was drawing from scratch. She was looking for one thing. A file. The file that proved what really happened the night her father died. Names, orders, proof. Her father's most trusted man had told her before he disappeared. Ji-ho kept records of every order he ever gave. Find that file and find the truth. She was going to find it. And then she was going to burn his entire world down with it. She had been in the mansion 6 days before she saw him up close. Not in passing. Up close, she was polishing the floor of the main corridor when the elevator opened and he walked out. Dark suit, no tie, top button open. He moved through that corridor like the space rearranged itself around him without being asked. Effortless, inevitable. 2 men flanked him on either side, but you didn't notice them. You only noticed him. The air in the room changed the moment he stepped into it. Not because he demanded it, because it simply responded to him, like it had no choice. Zara kept her eyes down and her hands moving. He walked past her without looking. Then he stopped. She felt it before she heard it. The air changed again. You're new. His voice was low and unhurried, the kind of voice that had never once needed to be raised to be heard. She looked up slowly. His eyes were already on her. Dark. Still. Reading her like a page he wasn't sure he understood yet. Yes, sir? I started last week, Zara said quietly. There was a pause between them. Long and unhurried. The kind that belonged to a man who took whatever time he needed and answered to nobody for it. Your name, he said. Ada, sir. He looked at her for one more second. Then he walked away. His men followed. The corridor exhaled. Zara looked back down at the floor. Her hands had stopped moving. Lee Chan-woo saw her on day 1. He had been standing at the top of the staircase when she walked through the front door with her paperwork and her soft eyes and her nobody energy, and he felt something cold move through him instantly. He knew that face. Not Ada Mensah, Zara Adeyemi, Chief Adeyemi's daughter. He went to his office, closed the door, sat very still for a long time. If Ji-ho found out who she was, he would remove her immediately. But Chan-woo couldn't let that happen. Because if Zara found that file, the full file, it wouldn't just expose Ji-ho's order. It would expose what Chan-woo had done that night. The things Ji-ho never authorized, the things that would end him completely. He needed to find that file before she did. He straightened his tie, smiled at nothing, and went back downstairs. Before we continue, if you are enjoying this story so far, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a story. And drop a comment below. Do you think Ji-ho already knows who Ada really is? Tell me your thoughts right now. 3 weeks passed. Zara searched carefully and patiently. She found nothing. The file was not in the study. Not in the library, not in any room she had accessed. It was somewhere deeper. She needed more access. She needed to get closer to the center of this house. Closer to him. But getting closer to Kang Ji-ho was not a simple thing. The man lived like a fortress, every movement calculated. Every door in his world had 3 locks. And the people around him moved with the particular carefulness of people who understood the cost of mistakes. She watched and she waited. The opportunity came on a Thursday evening. The head housekeeper collapsed in the kitchen. Blood pressure. The ambulance came. There was a private dinner for 12 arriving in 4 hours, and the kitchen was complete chaos. Zara stepped in without being asked. She reorganized the staff, redirected the preparation, rebuilt the entire service plan in 20 minutes. She moved through that kitchen like she had done it 1,000 times. Calm, focused, completely in control. When Ji-ho walked into the dining room that evening, everything was perfect. Not almost perfect, perfect. After the guests left, he stood at the kitchen door and looked across the staff. His eyes found her immediately. They always did. Who reorganized the service tonight? He asked. There was silence. Then the junior cook pointed quietly at Zara. Ji-ho looked at her. She looked back, for slightly longer than she should have. Come to my office tomorrow morning, he said. Then he walked away. His office sat at the top of the mansion. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Seoul spread below like a kingdom at his feet. The kind of view that reminded you exactly who you were dealing with. Everything in that office was deliberate. The desk. The silence. The way the city sat below him like it was waiting for instructions. This was not a man who had stumbled into power. This was a man who had built it brick by brick and guarded it with everything he had. Zara stood across the desk from him and kept her face completely still. Ji-ho sat back in his chair and looked at her with those reading eyes. "Where did you learn to manage a service like that?" he asked. "My mother ran a catering company, sir. I grew up in the kitchen," Zara replied calmly. There was a pause between them. "You're wasted cleaning floors," Ji-ho said. She said nothing. "I'm moving you to personal staff, direct household operations. More responsibility." He said it like it was already decided. Because it was. More access. The words landed in her chest like a key turning in a lock. "Thank you, sir," Zara said quietly. He nodded and looked back at his desk. She turned to leave. "Ada." His voice stopped her. She turned slightly. "You looked me in the eye yesterday," he said. Her heart didn't move. "I apologize, sir," Zara said. There was a pause between them. "Don't," Ji-ho said simply. His eyes were still on his desk. His jaw was set. "Everyone in this house looks at the floor when I walk past. Every single person." His voice was quiet and even. "It's exhausting," he said. Zara said nothing. She walked out and stood in the corridor with her back against the wall for 3 full seconds. Then she kept moving. Personal staff meant she was everywhere. Private dining, household scheduling, his private quarters floor. She was in the center of the house now, and she used every single second of it. And Chan Woo was watching her every move. He started finding reasons to be near her, small questions, casual conversations, stopping her in corridors with instructions that didn't need to come from him. Always smiling, always perfectly friendly, always watching. Zara felt it immediately. She didn't know who he was yet, but she filed him carefully under one word. Dangerous. It was during the 4th week that something between her and Ji-ho shifted. She couldn't name one moment. It was a collection of them, the way he started appearing in whatever room she was working in. Not obviously, not intrusively, just there. Reading documents at the table while she oversaw the evening setup, standing at the window while she briefed the kitchen staff. Like he found reasons to occupy the same space as her without ever admitting that was what he was doing. One evening she was arranging the private dining room alone when he walked in. She didn't hear him coming, she never did. "You don't have to do that yourself." His voice came from directly behind her. She turned. He was closer than she expected. She took one step back instinctively. Something moved in his eyes. He noticed. "The junior staff can handle the settings," Ji-ho said. "I prefer to check things myself, sir," Zara replied. "Why?" he asked. "Because if something is wrong, I want to be the one who catches it," she said. He looked at her carefully. "That's not a maid's answer," Ji-ho said. She held his gaze. "I'm not a typical maid, sir." The corner of his mouth moved, not quite a smile. Something just before 1. He picked up a glass from the table. Inspected it, set it back down. "No," he said quietly. "You're not." He walked out. Zara stood alone in the dining room and pressed one hand flat against the table. Her pulse was doing something she had not given it permission to do. She could feel it in her throat, in her wrists, in the space behind her eyes. She straightened, refocused. She was here for one reason only, and she was not going to forget that. She found the first clue on a Friday night. Deep inside the household filing system, she found one single line buried between property management documents. Adiemi asset transfer, final documentation, private archive, level B, the basement. She'd never been to the basement. Getting there took 4 more days. She reported a fault in the basement temperature system that could damage the wine collection. Ji-ho approved the maintenance check personally. She went down alone. The basement was vast, cold, organized like a bank vault. She moved quickly through the archive section until she found the cabinet, locked. She photographed the cabinet, the label and the lock type. Then she heard footsteps on the stairs. She moved fast. Back to the temperature panel. Tablet in hand like she had been there the whole time. Chan Woo appeared at the bottom of the stairs. He looked at her. She looked at him. "Temperature check," Zara said calmly and held up her tablet. Chan Woo looked around the basement slowly, then back at her. Of course. His smile was warm. His eyes were not. "Don't stay too long. It gets cold down here," he said pleasantly. He went back upstairs. Zara waited until she couldn't hear his footsteps anymore. Then she exhaled slowly. He knew. She didn't know how much. But he knew something. And a man like that with something to protect was more dangerous than any locked door in this mansion. She was running out of time. "If you are still here, then you are just like me. Completely hooked. Share this story with someone right now and drop a comment. Do you trust Chan Woo? Because something about him is very wrong." That same evening, Ji-ho found her on the rooftop terrace. She went there sometimes when her work was done. Just for the air. Just for the distance from everything she was carrying inside that house. She heard his footsteps and turned. He stood at the terrace door in a dark shirt and trousers. No jacket. No suit. More human than she'd ever seen him look. Like the building had peeled one layer off him on the way up. "You come up here often," he said. It wasn't really a question. "Sometimes, sir." "I hope that's not a problem," Zara replied. "If it was a problem, the door would be locked," Ji-ho said simply. He walked to the railing and stood beside her. "Not too close. but close enough that she was aware of exactly how close. Soul blazed below them. He looked out at it like a man doing a quiet inventory of something that belonged to him. "Do you like this city?" he asked without looking at her. "It's complicated, sir," Zara said. He turned his head slightly. "Explain," he said. She kept her eyes on the city. "It takes everything from some people." There was a pause between her words. "And gives everything to others." There was silence between them. A long one. He looked at her for a long moment. "Which one are you?" Jiho asked. She turned and looked at him directly. "I haven't decided yet," Zara said. Something moved in his expression, deep and slow, like a door opening somewhere very far inside him that had been closed for a very long time. He looked back at the city. "Neither have I." He said it so quietly she almost didn't catch it. They stood in silence for a long time after that. The city hummed below them. The night air moved between them. Neither of them moved. Neither of them left, and in that silence something passed between them that neither of them had names for yet. The next morning Chan Wu came to her. He knocked on the household off his door and closed it behind him. His smile was completely gone. "I know who you are," he said simply. "Zara Adeyemi." She didn't flinch, didn't blink. "I think you have the wrong person," Zara said flatly. "Your father's birthmark." Chan Wu pointed to the left side of his own jaw. "You have the same one, covered with makeup. But I know what I'm looking at," he said. There was a long silence between them. "What do you want?" Zara said. Her voice was flat now, all the softness stripped away. "The same thing you want." Chan Wu sat down across from her. "That file. I can get you into the basement archive. I have the access codes. We find it together. You get your proof. I make sure the right pages disappear before anything goes public," he said. Zara studied him carefully. "Why would you help me?" she asked. His jaw shifted slightly. "Because Jiho is becoming a problem for a lot of people. Not just you," Chan Wu said. She held his gaze. "I'll think about it," Zara said. "Don't think too long." He stood up slowly. "Jiho is getting close to you. When he finds out who you are, and he will, neither of us will have time to think," Chan Wu said. He walked out. Zara sat alone in the office and looked at the closed door for a long time. She didn't trust a single word he had just said. A man who comes to you with an offer always wants something more than what he is saying. The question was never what he was offering. The question was always what he was hiding. She was going to find out. That evening Jiho called her to his office. She walked in expecting business. He was standing at the window with 2 glasses of water on the desk. The city sat behind him like a painting. "Sit down," he said. She sat. He turned from the window and looked at her with an expression she hadn't seen on him before. Not the reading look. Something quieter. Something that had been building for weeks and had finally run out of room. "How long have you been running from something?" Jiho asked. The question hit her square in the chest. She kept her face perfectly still. "Sir," Zara said, "you came here with a clean record and no history and no family and no past." He moved to the desk slowly. "Nobody arrives with nothing. Everyone is running from something or toward something." He sat on the edge of the desk and looked at her directly. "Which one are you?" he asked. The air in the room was very still. "I'm just looking for a fresh start, sir," Zara said. "Ada," her fake name in his mouth. "Low. Careful. I have built my entire life on reading people. It is the only reason I am still alive." There was a pause between them. "Don't insult either of us," Jiho said. There was silence. Her heart was running. His eyes stayed completely steady on hers. "I'm not who you need to be afraid of." His voice dropped. "Whatever brought you here, I'm not the enemy you think I am," Jiho said. Something cracked inside her chest, just slightly. She sealed it immediately. "I don't know what you mean, sir," Zara said. He looked at her for a long time. Then he stood up and reached into his desk drawer. He placed a key on the desk between them. "The file in the basement archive." He said it simply, like dropping something heavy on a table between them. "The Adeyemi file. Room B7, bottom cabinet. It has been waiting there for 3 years," Jiho said. The room stopped. She stopped. Everything stopped. She stared at the key, then at him. "You knew," Zara said, barely a whisper. "You knew who I was, since the day you walked through my door." His voice was even. "Your father's eyes, his jaw, his way of walking into a room like you already know where everything is," Jiho said. "Then why—" she started. "Because I needed you to find it." He stepped closer. "1 step, and I needed to know if you were brave enough to come all the way inside to get it," Jiho said. She stood up slowly. Her hands were steady. Her voice was not. "My father is dead because of you," Zara said. "Your father is dead because of Chan Wu." His voice stayed quiet, but something underneath it was iron. "I gave an order to acquire your father's business. That is all I ordered. What Chan Wu did that night was not sanctioned, was not known to me, and has been something I have been trying to prove for 3 years," Jiho said. The silence between them was the loudest thing in the room. "That file has everything. Every order I gave, every order I didn't give, and exactly what Chan Wu did without my knowledge." He nodded toward the key. It belongs to you? His voice dropped to something very quiet and very final. And I'm tired of carrying the weight of something I didn't do, Jiho said. He knew the whole time. He let her in on purpose. Are you Team Jiho now, or do you still not trust him? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And if this story has you completely locked in, like this video, subscribe and share. More stories are coming and they only get better. She took the key. She went to the basement alone that night. Room B7, bottom cabinet. The file was thick, heavy. Years of documentation stacked inside a brown folder that had been sitting in that cold basement for 3 years waiting for her. She sat on the basement floor and read every single page. Jiho's orders were exactly what he said. Acquire the business. A hostile takeover wrapped in Mafia power. Brutal but clean. Her father's empire absorbed into Jiho's without a single trace of what she had imagined all these years. And then came Chanwoo's pages. She almost stopped reading. But she didn't. Things done to her father that night that had nothing to do with business. Personal. Deliberate. Cruel. Chanwoo had used Jiho's order as cover for something much darker. Something driven by his own history with her father. An old debt. An old humiliation. A score that went back years before Jiho was ever involved. Her father had once destroyed Chanwoo's father in a business deal that left their family with nothing. Chanwoo had waited years for his moment. And when Jiho gave the order, he took it. She closed the file. She sat in the silence of that cold basement and felt 3 years of her life rearrange itself completely. The man she had come here to destroy was not the man who killed her father. Chanwoo was waiting at the top of the basement stairs. He looked at the file in her hands. His smile disappeared completely. "Give me the file, Zara," he said. "My name is Ada," Zara said flatly and kept walking. The file. He stepped directly in front of her. Jiho already knows everything that is in it. She held it steady and looked at him without blinking. He has known for 3 years. He has been building a case. The only person this file completely destroys is you, Zara said. Something moved across his face. Fear first, then fury. He reached for her arm, and then Jiho stepped out of the corridor shadow behind him. "Chanwoo," he said, just one word. Quiet as a closed door. Chanwoo went completely still. Jiho's 2 most trusted men appeared from both ends of the corridor at the same time. Chanwoo looked at Jiho, then at Zara, then back at Jiho. "You set this up." His voice was hollow. "You set it up." Jiho's voice had no heat in it, no anger, just absolute zero. 3 years ago in that house in Lagos, you used my order as cover. You did things I never sanctioned to a man who trusted that I would handle things cleanly, he said. There was silence. Chanwoo looked at the men on both sides closing in. Then he looked at Zara one last time. Something moved across his face, something that almost looked like he wanted to explain himself. She looked through him like he was glass. It was over by midnight. Chanwoo was gone. The file was where it needed to be. The truth was finally out in the open after 3 years of sitting in a cold basement waiting for someone brave enough to come and get it. Zara stood on the rooftop terrace alone and looked at Seoul blazing below her. She had come here with one purpose and one face and one plan. She had completed the purpose. She had buried the face, and the plan had led her somewhere she never expected. She heard his footsteps. She didn't turn around. Jiho came and stood beside her at the railing. The same spot, the same city below them, the same silence that had always sat between them like a living thing. "It's over." His voice was quiet. "Yes," Zara said. There was a long silence between them. The city hummed. A warm wind moved across the terrace. "Are you leaving?" Jiho asked. She didn't answer immediately. "I don't know what I am now." Her voice was honest for the first time since she walked through his door. "I came here as someone else. I spent 3 years being someone else. I don't know who Ada is. And Zara was only ever made of anger," she said. He turned to look at her. The city light caught the side of his face. "Then find out." His voice was low and certain. "Here, take the time you need," Jiho said. She turned to him. "Why?" Zara asked. He held her gaze for a long moment, long enough that the city below them seemed to quiet itself down. "Because the woman who walked into my house 2 months ago, whoever she was the first person in years who looked me in the eye without fear." There was a pause between his words. "I have built everything you can see from this rooftop, every building, every empire, every deal," he said. Another pause. "And I have never once been looked at the way you look at me." She held his gaze. Her heart was doing what it had been doing for weeks now, what it had been doing since the first evening on this terrace, what she had spent 2 months telling herself she could not afford. Jiho. She said his name for the first time. No, sir, no distance, just his name. Something shifted in his expression. Something that had been very carefully locked opened quietly. He reached out slowly, and his hand covered hers where it rested on the railing. He didn't pull her toward him. He didn't need to. He just covered her hand with his and waited. She looked at their hands, then at him, then at the city, then back at him. She turned her hand over beneath his and held it. They stood there together while soul burned gold beneath them, neither of them saying another word, neither of them needing to. Two people who had come to each other through fire and silence, and 3 years of distance that had collapsed into nothing on a rooftop above a city that didn't know it was sitting inside their story. If this story moved you even a little, please like this video and subscribe. Share it with someone tonight, and drop a comment telling me, did you see any of that coming? Because I want to know. See you in the next story. The end.